Welcome, welcome, welcome to On Fire to Inspire. I am your host, Aaliyah, the Purpose Midwife. I want to thank you so much for joining us this beautiful Tuesday evening. You could have been anywhere else doing anything else, but you chose to spend it with us. And for that, we are totally grateful. I tell you, I'm excited about the topic. I'm excited about our guests. But before we jump in, I want y'all to do me a favor. Can y'all do me a favor? Hit that share button for me while I thank our sponsors. So I'm going to thank our sponsors. You'll hit that share button and we're going to get started shortly. But again, thank y'all for joining us. I'll thank our sponsors. You hit that share button, okay? So thank you so much to my big brother and pastor, Ricky D. Surratt, for being an awesome sponsor. And if you are a leader and you need a book in your arsenal, this is the book for you. It's called Leadership Inside Trajectory. Now, this is a great leadership tool, whether you are leading in ministry, leading any kind of leader. This is a great tool for you. And you can find it at iworkfaith.com. Also, if you need a speaker, he is a certified John Maxwell speaker and trainer. And he'd definitely be able to take great care of you. Again, you can book him at iworkfaith.com. If you are on your health and wellness journey and you're trying to get it together, go over to Facebook Land and look up Come Dance with Mena. Come Dance with Mena, MENA. We have classes on Mondays and Thursdays that are virtual and in person at 6 p.m. And then she does the library at 10 a.m. So you have 3 opportunities to get it together for that week. So that is Come Dance with Mena over on Facebook, okay, MENA. We also have mombizboss.org. Now, if you are a mom, multiple operational manager, and you are an aspiring entrepreneur, or you are currently an entrepreneur and you need to network with other like-minded women like yourself. So what you want to do is connect with these women and be able to glean from each other, learn from each other, and also collaborate. Maybe collaborations may be an option for you. So go visit mombizboss.org. Take a look at them. We have Sensational Galore. Y'all, Sensational Galore has been hooking us up. We love all of their products. They have over 22 scents that are for the women, and then they have about 6 or 7 of the men scents. Great evening, everybody. Hit that share button as you're joining. They have everything from Mango Madness to Pineapple Paradise, Love Spell. They have the body butters and the body scrubs. And again, there are men scents as well. They have Boss, they have Zeus, they have so many of the men. I think they have Natural Man. I can't remember all the men scents, y'all. I'm sorry. But they do have men scents out there, and that's sensational-galore.com. And then finally, if you don't have any of my books, you can find them out on Amazon. Even the coloring book is actually even out on Walmart.com and Target.com. But it's the I Am Inspirational coloring book. You can find that again on Amazon, Walmart.com, Target, all of those. And then we have the rest of them that are on Amazon. You'll see On Fire to Inspire. You have A Learning Book Just for Me and the journal, right? So we're gonna hop right on in, y'all. I'm so excited about tonight's topic because y'all, everybody's being their best self and they're doing, everything intentionally. They're being about purpose, on purpose. But are we parenting on purpose? In this day and time, we're living a life that's so busy, but it's time to really put things into perspective. And I love who we're bringing on because this is what she does. This is who she is. So let's bring Kathy Miller on. Welcome to On Fire to Inspire. How are you this evening?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much, Aaliyah, for having this opportunity for me to talk about something that I absolutely love. I believe I was born for motherhood.
Absolutely. So I want you to introduce yourself to the On Fire to Inspire family.
So my name is Kathy Miller. I'm actually from Spartanburg, and I am a mom. But more importantly than that, I've been promoted recently. So I know you're probably trying to figure out why I have this tiara on and what those 3 jewels are, because they're probably stones that you're not familiar with, because they're not diamonds, they're not sapphires, and they're rubies. But each one of the jewels that you see on my tiara is Caden, my 10-year-old grandson, Camden, his 2-year-old brother, and my grandson, Jace, who is about to be 2 years old. So I actually have been promoted from just being a parent to now being a grandparent. So if you didn't see my tiara before, I'm sure that you're able to see it now. So I'm just so excited to be on tonight.
Absolutely love it. Thank you so much. Now, tonight's topic is parenting on purpose. And so I want you to tell us, what does that topic mean to you?
So my background spans almost 40 years of working with families and children. And so let me just start off by saying, growing up, I loved playing with my dolls. So I had one doll in particular when I was 6. Her name was Baby Go Bye Bye. Well, for some of you, Baby Go Bye Bye became Baby Alive. And so I took her everywhere with me. Like I was Baby Go Bye Bye's mom. I curled her hair. We wore matching outfits. And it's just always been an innate part of who I am. But my life's work took me on a 40-year journey of working with families and children. And I was extremely blessed to be able to start a school. I literally built a school with just 2 students, one of them being my son and another little boy named Eric in 2001. Fast forward 18 years later, I retired and the school had grown to 94 students, 20 staff, and we served infants through 3rd grade. And we became a private Christian school, and we were accredited through the South Carolina Independent School Association. I can't take any credit for that. It was all God and just the people that he sent to support me. But what I saw in my work as a case manager was that there were families that wanted a quality program, but they couldn't afford it. And people were like, oh, you can't mix quality and affordability. I'm the girl that if you tell me what I can't do, I'm going to let you sit there and watch just what happens. And lo and behold, God sent some of the most amazing retired educators in my area. They came out of retirement to work with me. So we were able for 18 years to be able to educate the children in our community and provide a service that a lot of the moms otherwise would not have been able to afford. And so that's just a little bit about me and my background professionally. But I just needed you guys to know that I've been a mom since I was 6.
Well, Baby Go Bye Bye.
With Baby Go Bye Bye.
So as I was saying in the introduction, before I even brought you on, I was talking about we're living our best life. We're doing this, we're doing that. But shifting to the parenting on purpose and with purpose, how do we do this? How do we be intention about balancing and truly parenting? So, you and I are in that more of a coach stage because our children are grown.
Right.
But what about the parents who are in that parenting stage? And they are listening to us right now and they're saying, help.
I think first and foremost, let's just go ahead and set the record straight. There's nothing magical about the numbers 18 and 21. Parenting is progressive. And so we're parents until we leave this earth and leave that role. But for parents that are right now navigating what all of that looks like, a couple of things. Be intentional about building a relationship with your children. I promise you, the dirty clothes are going to be there. The dirty dishes are going to be there. You're going to step on toys throughout the day and night. So just put some shoes on. But I think that what a lot of parents leave on the table because of duty is that relationship. Because you are raising up the next generation. You're their first and most influential teacher. We're their tour guides. From the time the doctor slaps them on the bottom and they let out that first cry, we instantly become their tour guides. We help them to navigate the world in which they live. And contrary to popular belief, there's some things that are taught, but it's a lot of stuff that's caught. And so we have to be very intentional about what we're teaching them. One of my biggest things too is we're able to teach them while we're navigating and touring them around this world that they have no clue about, is the importance of teaching them transferable, independent living skills. It's easy to do everything for them, but you have to start letting them do things for themselves. Another thing that's so important that I think that we forget is the importance of investing in our children and not on them. And I say that because our society has so much commercialism and people are making more money than they've ever made. Families are living better. And there's a temptation to invest on your child. But the key is investing in them. And when I say the difference between investing on and in, tennis shoes that won't yield you any return on your investment. Before the season is up, they're too small. But taking that same $250 that you paid for those tennis shoes that you find under the bed that they don't even wear because they want to wear their Crocs all the time. I'm just saying. But if you had taken that same $250 and because your little girl showed an interest in art or in ceramics and you invested in a class, even a pottery class, that's investing in your children and not on them. Another thing that's very important is when you're complimenting your children, don't focus on their exterior. Oh, how cute they are. Oh, those ponytails. Oh my goodness, look at her. What about when she's almost 60 like me and there are no ponytails to be found? So you're teaching them that outward validation is more important than them being kind. Are you saying, I love the way you shared with your friend Jenny when she came over? Or that they're caring, things that are going to build their core. Because remember, they're not going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 12 always. We're preparing them to function in society as civic-minded leaders, but we want them to be confident and resilient. And that doesn't just happen overnight. So I think that it's very important for us to remember that we're raising the next generation. And also remember that you're raising the one that's going to make the decisions about where you spend your golden years. So invest in them. Teach them how to problem solve. Let them have opportunities to make decisions. As simple as at 2 and 3, especially by 3, they're able to pick out a shirt and a pair of pants. Yes, you may have to help them with what season it is, but let them start making decisions. Because if they're always depending on us, they're going to always depend on other people. And we want to teach them to be independent thinkers.
I love that. If they're always dependent on us, how did you just say that? I was trying to get it.
If they're always depending on us to make decisions, then they're going to look for others, whether it's in their peer group or whomever, to make decisions for them because they aren't able to make decisions. And we also, as parents, have to, sometimes there are other cultures that will say they just do too much talking, honey. I'm not doing all that talking to them. I said at one time, that's enough. Well, how many times has it taken somebody more than once to give us an instruction? And so we have to remember that we're grooming them. We're raising them up. And so I do hasten parents on this note. Don't always make life conducive for your children. where everything is a hug and a juice box. And, oh, just let me give you a hug and a juice box. Everything's going to be okay. Because they're going to be 50 living in your basement. And that's not what you want. You want them to fulfill whatever purpose God created them to the earth to be able to do. So our job as parents, when we're parenting on purpose, we're intentional. We're intentional about what we're teaching them. We're looking for every teachable moment to make sure that we're teaching them the skills at the age and level, because it continues to increase. If little Johnny grabs a piece of bubble gum or a pack of bubble gum at the cash register at 3, and you don't know where he got it from when you get in the car, you're bringing him back to the store and talking to the manager and him having to apologize. And you're able to teach him in that moment that mommy has to pay for, or daddy has to pay for what you have. Because I promise you, if it goes unchecked, you're going to be getting a call from a police station, and it's going to be a lot more severe. So we have to exercise assertive discipline. But if you could just, if nothing else, just remember that you're their tour guide. You're teaching them how to navigate this world in which they live.
I like that. You're the tour guide. Many times, when you talked about invest in them and not on them, many children have not been exposed to different things. Can we touch on that? Like exposing them to things beyond what's in just your neighborhood.
So with phones being in everybody's hand and at the touch, even taking children to the park, making a sandwich, making sandwiches at the house, getting a blanket, taking them to the park, letting them run, play, and jump. And I can't say enough about those electronics. Teach your children to be a part of the world in which they live instead of sitting on the outskirts watching other people's lives. So there's so many things, Aaliyah, that are available to parents at no cost. Again, it's very important to spend time talking to your children. You'll be surprised at the things that they think about or what things interest them. If you see your little boy always picking up rocks, that's a great opportunity to take them to the science center. You have to be very zoned in. And please, let me hasten parents. Don't live through your children. Don't, just because you play football, daddy, he may want to play in the orchestra. Let that be okay. Your daughters may not want to cheer. They may want to play basketball, moms. Just because you did or didn't, it's not our turn to live through them. It's our opportunity to help to shape and mold them. I love just spending quality time watching movies. I love the idea of taking children to the park. Parks don't cost anything. The vitamin D is good for them. There are different things that even you can let them pick a movie. And they know that on Friday nights, we're going to have movie night. That doesn't cost you anything. You can go to the Dollar Tree and pick up $10 worth of stuff and rent a movie, even if you have to pull it off of YouTube, and create memories. I think it's very important for parents to make memories with their children. Imagine their minds being a bank, but a memory bank. And so we're constantly making memories, even a sleepover, even put chairs together and make a tent and sleep in it at night. Just there's so many creative things. If you want to know some things to teach your children, start by teaching them some things that you wish you knew. That's always a good one. You know, we're quick to judge our parents, but a lot of times our parents did the best that they could. But now is your opportunity. Now you're the parent. So how would it be different for you? What do you want your children to know? What are your family's values? My family was very quiet about situations. They kept everything under wraps. I tell my kids everything. everything. But now age appropriate. Let me hasten you, age appropriate, but that open communication. Because if there was a family member that, like in my family, that dealt with alcohol or drug addiction, I don't need to keep that from my children. I need to help them to understand why it's important for them not to ever even venture that way, because there's a very real possibility that, just like Uncle Johnny, that could be you. So some things you're just better off just hearing the stories about. You don't need to get the t-shirt because somebody already got it.
I love that. I love that. That open communication with them, finding out, I just turned purple, finding out what's going on, and letting them know that it's okay to communicate with you, because if they don't communicate with you, they're going to communicate with their peers. And
Yes.
half time they don't know anymore.
I remember being 14 and having conversations with my friends about boys. So I promise you, they couldn't tell me nothing because they were 14.
Wow, that is funny.
But I don't think, Aaliyah, you can't over communicate. It's important to ask your children, what are you thinking about? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? That seems like it's trivial, but what you're showing them is that what I think is important. My thoughts are being valued. And if the thinking is a little off, then that's where you parent on purpose. You help to bring them full circle. Maybe not in that conversation, but ongoing. That communication is huge. That communication piece is huge. Being in the same room with them is not communicating with them. You on your phone and them on their tablets, y'all just sharing the same air. There's no real communication. And I promise you, sooner than later, those 18 or 21 years are going to roll on. But don't you want them to want to go on vacation with you, to want to bring their families with you? But that's not done through osmosis. It's a relationship. You have to work on it. You have to build it. Yes, sometimes you're going to have to tell them that something that they're doing isn't right, but they're going to love you for it, because they know that if anybody has my best interest in heart, it's going to be you, even when I have to correct you.
Absolutely. Pastor Flo said, yes, ma'am. With the communication, you need to know what's on their mind. So that's good. That's good. What about the parent that says, I have a teenager and they won't talk?
So there comes a time when children think that we don't know anything, that we're old fogies, which is why it's huge to build that foundation. One of the most ingenious things that I think that my mom did was, as I got older, and she didn't know anything until I got in my 20s. Like, I went through a period where she knew absolutely nothing. I knew everything. And then in my 20s, everything that she had been telling me really hit. Here's one thing that I love. It helps with the communication. Sometimes they're not going to talk. My mom, back then, we didn't have journals. So we had a notebook. And she would write in the notebook and put it on my bed. And then I would write back in the notebook and put it on her bed. And that notebook went back and forth until we got to a place where we could verbally talk to each other. But my mom taught us that paper is patient and that it is kind. And so you don't have to worry about getting interrupted or rolling your eyes, or because you're reading words on paper. And that was huge for us. And so by the time I had children, they each had a journal. And we got to some places where it was rough and we couldn't talk. And it might be 2 days before the journal made it back to my bed. But eventually it made it back to my bed. So for the parent that has a teenager that doesn't talk, start introducing that early. That's why this is a building process. That's why you start out parenting on purpose because the end goal is a healthy relationship. At the end of the day, I don't care whether you become a doctor or a janitor. I want you to be the best at whatever that is. And I want us to always be able to have open communication, and that you know that you can always come and talk to me. And even with my children, there are times that we talk, they don't want to hear what I have to say, period. And I might get a call a couple of days later with one of them saying, Mama, I really wasn't ready to hear what you had to say, but I know you were right. Or this is my position. And as a parent, at the end of the day, this is your life. We shared it with you when you were younger. Now you exiting stage left. Just like the little old people say, however you make your bed, that's how many more times you got to roll over on it. So if you got cookie crumbs and all that in your bed and you ain't wiped off your sheets and you ain't, changed the sheets and you've been sleeping on them, then that's you and whatever else you got going on in them. Because for me, I've given you all that I had. And so as parents too, we can't parent out of guilt. You give it your all, but this is really their lives. And so we have to step back sometimes. And that's where that parenting becomes coaching. That's where that parenting becomes where you have to sit back and pray because it's their choice. And so, but by far, the journals are a dead ringer. And I think that it teaches your children that what they have to say is important. I laugh and joke with my 2 grown kids all the time. Both of them have children. And I tell them stuff sometime and they blow it off. I say, maybe I need to send you an invoice because people pay me to tell you what I'm telling you for free. So maybe if you get an invoice, you might attach a little bit more importance to it.
And here's the thing. They'll come back the following week and be like, Mama, you said, mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't even care if they come back and act like it was their idea. I'm like, yeah, girl, you are an amazing mom. You got that. You got this, girl. Yeah. Because guess what? My baby, whatever age my son Joshua is, and that's going to be 26 in September. So, yeah. That's why I wear this tiara. That's why you see all this bling on my forehead, because I have been promoted and I accept the promotion.
The mothers with adult children, I think, really truly thank you with those last couple of things, because with the adult children, they tend to know everything, and so and they will listen, but sometimes it's like they have so much to say. You're like, okay,
yeah. I used to tell my son all the time, we have the same birthday, so our personalities are very much alike. Either when he was growing up, either we got along or we didn't. Wasn't nobody playing pretty. If it wasn't good that day, it wasn't good that day. But we always found our way back to whomever needed to apologize. And let me say that parents, apologize to your children when they're younger. There have been some days I snapped off and I had to go back and apologize because what I snapped off about didn't even, the time that I spent with all that snapping off didn't match the crime. If I ask you to unload the dishwasher and there's 5 more minutes left on your show that you've been watching and this is the season finale and them dishes been in the dishwasher or the clothes been in the dryer for 2 days, was it really that serious? And the answer is no. So guess what I have to say? I'm really sorry about that. And even to this day, me and my children, we apologize to each other. I didn't mean to sound snappy because we're not perfect. And so we don't want them to act like that they have to be perfect. They're human beings. And that's my little grandson speaking to me. But we have to let them know that we don't have it all figured out. And when my son was a teenager, every time I would tell him something, he'd say, yeah, Mom, I know. I started looking at my arm like I had a watch on it. And he would be looking and I say, you know what? I think it's time. And he was looking at my arm like, what time? You don't even have on a watch, right? But I'm looking at my arm. I said, I think this would be a good time for you to move out because you know everything at 14 and at 15. And then I got to the place where I would remind him, I said, you do realize that I've lived past whatever age you are, because I had you at 34. So I got a little age on you. And, you know, and so now we laugh about some of those things, but it's real. You know, while you know everything, go ahead and move out. Because I promise you, soon as you sign that lease and meet Mr. 30 Days, you're going to realize you don't know as much as you thought you knew. Because Mr. 30 Days is coming for your lease payment, for your mortgage, for your water, for your lights. You ain't going to be able to come grocery shopping in my pantry. You're going to have to go right to Costco or Sam's because you're grown and you know everything.
Kathy, let's talk about the early intervention on things when you see. You know how a lot of times we don't want to see that there's a problem. There's nothing wrong with my baby. So let's talk about early intervention and being able to catch things early so that you can get them resolved early.
First and foremost, I think that it's very important for parents to put their children in early childhood education programs. We like to call them daycares, and there are some, but there are a lot of programs out here through First Steps, through Head Start, even early Head Start that focuses on children 0 to 3. And I think that when you, first and foremost, if you see something that looks a little abnormal, like for me, my middle grandson wasn't talking as much as his brother, but we weren't trying to compare him to his brother. But it was clear that for him to be 15 months, his language should have been more audible than it was. So and with having pediatricians, the main thing is look up developmental milestones. We are the only voice that our children will have. And if we miss that window of 0 to 3, it's not that they can't get it, but think about a window like in their brain. And as they get older, the window starts to close. That's why they're little sponges. That's why it's so important to stimulate them with language and literacy and reading to them, because we're seeing more children now that need glasses and have speech delay. And you know what we have to thank for that? Technology. Because they're not having to interact. They're not able to see your lips moving because you're not talking to them because you're doing this and they're doing that. And the way they're hearing sound. So if you think that there's anything, if the language, if they're not walking as soon as you think that they should, first and foremost, arm yourself with developmental milestones. Write that down. Developmental milestones, because there are windows of time where children develop in different areas, whether it's language, whether it's social, whether it's fine motor, like being able to pinch and pick up things, whether it's gross motor, walking and moving the bigger parts of their bodies. And I'm going to just put this out there as a disclaimer. Make sure that when you talk to your pediatrician, if they act like that they slow and that they think that, oh, they'll catch up, follow your mother wit, follow your intuition. My daughter's doctor told her that, oh, he'll be fine. She still contacted BabyNet. He ended up with early intervention services. He is now doing occupational therapy, but in the meantime, he had been in a home daycare, which was amazing because we knew he was loved and cared for, but he needed more structure. He needed more language. So once he got into an early Head Start program, we started hearing the language. Once he started with the EI or early interventionist, we started hearing more. Now we hear more language. Now he's doing occupational therapy, and he'll be 3 in December. So if my daughter had listened to her doctor and not followed her mother wit, then there would have been some months that we would not have received those services if she just sat back and continued to watch him. Now, I ain't going to throw her under the bus, but I'm just telling y'all, just lean in. If she had done the Talk to Me program like I told her to do, she would have known sooner. But that's her child, mine 25. So guess what? If I had sent her an invoice with that information, but guess what else? Now she knows. And so now she heralds the cause for parents advocating for their children, even to getting a screening for autism, because we didn't know what it was, but we knew that whatever it was, he was going to get the best of whatever he needed because we weren't going to stop. So whatever you do, don't ignore it, because time is of the essence.
Absolutely. You are your child's only advocate.
You're their voice.
Yeah.
You're their voice. And if you don't advocate for them, if you don't speak up for them, yeah.
Absolutely. When you were saying that those first 3 years is like that clock ticking, and that is so true and so strong, because one of the things that we don't tend to know is that, because we work in this field, most parents don't know that when they have the baby, the brain is only 25% developed. So you have to have the talking and the singing and the reading and interactions, not just on your phones. You got to have those things, because those neurological connections are forming 1 million connections per second. 1 million. But if we're not taking advantage of it, then we're missing the mark. And then by the time they hit 3, then you can't get the other early intervention stuff. Now you got to wait till they go to school age, or you got to pay for it. Those other things tend to be free. So y'all, if you see something, like she said, follow mother's wit and jump in on it and get, ask people. There are so many services out here, especially, we're familiar with the ones in South Carolina, but there are so many in your state as well, wherever you're tuning in from.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly, Aaliyah. And you can literally Google developmental milestones for children. And I think that it's important for parents to know, because also adding to that, you don't want to wait for them to get in school, because you don't want them to be labeled. See, once they get them in, especially public schools, then they're put on a track. And sometimes all they needed was a little extra. Think about this. Think about our children as gifts, but they all unwrap what's on the inside at their own pace. So we didn't expect the 2-year-old to talk like his brother did, because his brother started school at 5 months, but he was also a verbal child. That was his personality. So I'm not saying it to compare them, but make sure that you know what those 5 areas of development are. Those 5 areas of development are language, they are gross motor, big motor skills, fine motor, personal, social, and communication. And we're seeing a lot now with children making sure that they're social, and their social and emotional is together. You know why? Because again, thanks to technology, they're not having the opportunities to have that peer interaction. And so I think it's very important for children, at least by the age of 2, they need to be in a structured preschool early learning program. I'm a proponent for keeping them until they're a year old in a home environment, giving them that love and nurture. But some parents, they don't have that as an option. And if you don't beat yourself up about it. You just make sure that you put them in a program where their brains are going to be stimulated. And I'm going to say this, you can pay now or you can pay later, but it always costs more when you pay later.
Honey, that's the truth. That is the truth anyhow. And we know that even with our health, if you take care of it now, it may cost you a little bit more to be on the healthier side. But yeah, absolutely.
And let me tap into that just a little bit more, too, that you brought that up. That's part of parenting on purpose. We started seeing children that didn't know how to use forks. You know why? Because they eat out of boxes. They eat with their hands. They eat chicken nuggets. They eat hamburgers. They eat French fries. Look at different ways, fun ways. It's called kitchen science, cooking. Teaching your children how to sample different vegetables. Show them fresh fruit. Shop on the outside of the grocery store aisles, not on the inside with all that processed food, all that sugar. Start getting their taste buds acclimated, all that red dye, all that sugar. Y'all, listen, when you know better, it's time to do better. And we know better. We know more than any generations that have come before us. We have access to more information. And I know on this group, y'all don't scroll on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram for hours, but while y'all scrolling, scroll on kitchen science, ways to teach your children healthy eating habits. Introduce their palates early. Then you won't have to retrain them. And like Aaliyah said, we see so much obesity. I'd rather pay more for food at the grocery store than give it to the doctor. For him to buy another house in another part of the country because he got a beach house and a mountain house and another one that he can go to. So if I'm going to invest, I'm going to invest in me and not on me. And we got to remember, we got to eat to live and stop living to eat.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is definitely a component of parenting on purpose. Because if you get somewhere and the child don't know how to use a fork and they're in first grade, for example, you're like, people are looking at the child like something's wrong. When there's nothing wrong with the child, they just never been introduced to it.
Never been introduced. Never been. And just to the basics. One thing that I do also want to share, Aaliyah, I know our time is about spent, but one of the other things that I want to remind parents of, love your children, nurture them, but don't have a problem correcting them, because we can't prepare our children. We can't prepare the world for our children, but we can prepare our children for the world. And I'm going to say that again. We can't prepare the world for them, because Aaliyah isn't going to do for Alexis and Joshua what I'm going to do. But I still have to remember that if I put them in a little glass jar and walk around with them like they so priceless and precious, I'm really not helping them to be able to live, because they're going to be people that are going to dislike them for no reason. They're going to be situations that they're going to need to be able to handle. I liken it to this. Imagine you purchased a cat, a little kitten, loved it. You decided, I'm going to get this little kitten declawed because it's going to be a house cat. It's never going to have to go outside and worry about all of that other than when we're out. So you get the cat, the kitten grows into a cat, you get them declawed. Then you get a husband or a wife, and they're allergic to cats. And then you may even have a child, and they're allergic to cats. You decide, you know what? I'm going to have to put this cat outside. But guess what? They're not even going to be able to function outside because you've declawed them. So when you don't give your children the necessary tools that they need, it's like you declawed them and then threw them out into a world that they don't have a clue how to function in. And guess who have to look in the mirror to that? We do as parents. Are we going to get it right? Absolutely not. No, we're not going to be perfect, but we're going to parent on purpose. We're going to be intentional about making sure that they're building from our shoulders, and that as much as we can tell them and as much as they receive. And you know what my philosophy is? When you stop listening, I stop talking. You'll be glad to hear me talk again. You'll be really glad. And so that's not a punishment, but if you're not listening, there's no need for me to talk, because there are other people who would like to hear what I have to say. And whenever you're ready, I'm going to be right here. And I think that goes along with that parenting on purpose. No need for me to frustrate myself. You're not listening. I can cross my legs and watch Andy Griffith and talk back to him and Barney and, Aunt B and Opie.
I like how you said, gave that analogy. That was a perfect analogy on giving our children the necessary tools to equip them. Because one of the things that we were having a conversation one day, and one of the things was that I was glad that I raised my daughter to be independent, because she's in college and all of this, and she lives in a whole nother state in college, so being able to be self-sufficient, even though I'm not there, because if she was just completely dependent upon me, that wouldn't work. That would not work. And so being able to know that even if you're not right there, you're a phone call away, but you can't just go to their rescue, knowing that they're good, now that's when you feel like you've raised an independent child.
And let me add to this, because we love to get into gender specific stuff. So let me just go ahead and be real transparent in like 2 minutes. Oh, there's my fingers too. So don't wig out about little boys in dramatic play, playing with dolls and in the kitchen, in housekeeping, and always shooing them to the trucks. How are they going to grow up to be responsible, loving, caring dads, or be independent and be able to live in their own place and know how to wash their clothes, wash their dishes, sew their pants if they need to? We can't keep raising children that need to be dependent on us, because if it's not us, the boys gonna look for mamas and the girls gonna look for daddies, and that's gonna be a mess. But they need to be able to function independently. I'm telling y'all, I'm just gonna tell y'all what's the truth. I love my mother-in-law. She passed away 92 years love last year. We took care of her the last 3.5 years of her life. She taught my husband how to cook, how to clean, how to wash clothes. If I was out of town, he could do my daughter's hair. I owe her that. Let me tell you something. We wouldn't have been eating all them years, because I don't cook. I'll work. I'll bring home the bacon, but I ain't about to fry nothing up in the pan. But I wear my hair short. I go to the hood barbershop. My husband would cook, and I went to the barbershop and took my son. Don't get stuck in those gender roles. Do what you need to do that works for you and your family. If the woman is the best with the money, that's who handle the money, so we don't sleep under a bridge. If the husband is, let's do that. And let me speak to co-parenting. For parents that are having to co-parent, I say this: you could come to 2 decisions. You decided to get together and you decided to break up. The least you could do is that one more decision to figure out how to put your grown-up feelings and emotions to the side and raise a happy, healthy child that doesn't have to get stuck in the middle, especially if it's not a situation that's going to cause them harm, because that's a whole bunch of foolery on a whole nother level. And you know who ends up becoming the casualty? The children. And then y'all go on and skip to Malou and get your life together. And now you got all these bonus this and bonus that. You should have had the bonus, all of that at the gate. And that's my public service announcement about COVID.
That's a good one though, Kathy. Put your grown-up feelings to the side and emotions.
Them
And
children,
happy, healthy children.
they didn't have nothing to do with y'all getting together. They didn't have nothing to do with y'all breaking up. So now it's time for us to figure this thing out and put all them emotions aside. I mean, it's too many casualties, and the children become the casualties. And there's a saying by Frederick Douglass that it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. And we can't look and say nobody broke them but us. Again, I go back to parenting on purpose is about building healthy bonds and relationships and teaching your children independent living skills at the developmental ages that they are. Invest in them and not on them, because our job as their parents are to be tour guides to help them to learn how to navigate this world in which they live. And if they bratty on the playground and you don't check them, if they make it to the boardroom, they're going to be bratty. Y'all ever work with people that they just bratty, fussy, all that, because they ain't been checked? Because everybody done act like all their stuff was good and glorious.
Yes, yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. Girl, you have given us some great, great wisdom from everything from the infancy and younger, developmental stages to adolescence to adult children and older children. Anybody have any questions or comments? I've been trying to read the comments as we go. They were talking about that right there. Come on now. So they were responding to the different things that you were saying. But I also love how you talked about we can't prepare our children for the world, but we can prepare the world for our children, but our children for the world. I love that so much because I don't want to have a 40-year-old son that's mentally still 15 because I'm doing everything for him.
And he's staying home playing video games. That's not going to happen.
And he don't even work. That kind of stuff. I don't want that because I'm not going to be here forever. So I want my son to be able to be self-sufficient, and I'm just giving scenarios of just kind of thinking of things what you see or hear in this day and time.
So I'm sorry. So let's be real. In my family dynamics, there's one that always lived with somebody. So let me just be clear that when Big Mama gone or when Aunt Susie gone, they got plenty of places, because that's almost like declawing them. And especially men, and sure, children have times where they may have to come back home and reset. But if I don't drink and smoke, I ain't buying you no cigarettes or no beer. And I watch that in my family. My son will tell you I rode him like a stallion. And I said, son, I'm raising you for people that's dead and gone that you will never know. But I watched it and I absolutely refused. Wherever you work, that's going to depend on where you live. It can be from under a bridge to a gated community. You can buy an island. But what I'm not going to do, I'm not about to buy you cigarettes and beer and wash your clothes and do all of those things. And you have no disabilities that would require me to do just that. So you hit the nail on the head about that, Aaliyah. And we got to be able to stand flat-footed about that. Because I know growing up, I watched it. And I was like, yeah, no ham, no cheese, and no turkey. Mm-hmm.
What final thoughts would you like to leave with our audience tonight with Parenting on Purpose?
I would like to leave with the audience on tonight the fact that parenthood, being a mom, influencing being a mom, being a dad. And I want to give a shout out because I know it's some dads out there that be on duty. I see them sometime. I roll down my window and I say, look at you being a dad on duty, because they don't get the respect that they need. There's some amazing men out here that are doing some amazing things and some amazing fathers. So I definitely want to shout them out to be able to continue doing the work, because children need both parents. They need both parents unless one of them is detrimental to their upbringing. The one thing that I want to leave is to be intentional about your parenting. And it doesn't mean that you have biological children. I didn't have my children until I was in my 30s, but I was a surrogate mom. So we have way too much wisdom and knowledge in us to not be able to pour into others. But the one thing that I would say is be intentional about building healthy relationships, because I'm going to share with y'all what the Lord shared with me when my daughter was 17 and pregnant and a senior in high school. And these are going to be my closing words. I was so mad about her being pregnant. I was mad at the boy, and she probably the one that did all of the enticing and coercing, but I was mad at him. And clearly, I remember one day hearing the Lord say, you can't have impact where you don't have influence. You can't have impact where you don't have influence. So if I don't build a relationship, then I can't have any influence in your life, and I can't have any impact. So before I see a little boy and say, boy, you need to pull them pants up, he does, but there needs to be a relationship. And I'm just saying, remember that you have to steward your influence the same way you steward your money. And so it is important for us to be intentional about building relationships where we can have some influence and be able to help them, because we've lived longer than they have. And wisdom is priceless. And don't do it in a nasty little old lady, old man, think you know everything way. But be intentional about building those relationships. Because if I got a relationship with you, you can say anything. How I feel about it, that's not the point. The point is somebody poured it into you. We stand on other people's shoulders. I stand on the shoulders of women that have gone before me. And my goal in life is to have shoulders strong enough for the next generation to be able to stand on.
Love it, love it, love it. Evangelist T said, she said, wow, I love that. You can't impact. You can't have impact if you don't have influence. Yes, absolutely. So we truly, truly appreciate you sharing with us tonight. Because, we've been talking about purpose in so many aspects of our lives all month long. And so not just all month long, but for the last couple of weeks before even going into this month. So thank you so much for sharing about the parenting on purpose. It's necessary. And it's something that needs to be, addressed, because like you say all the time, these children don't come with instructions.
Listen, y'all, I was there for 2 of my grandsons. That last one, that pandemic baby that came in 21. I was like, I'm 8 years older than I was on his brother. There's got to be some instructions now, the way technology. I checked every crease and crevice. Still ain't no instructions.
No instructions.
Good.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we thank you so much for joining us tonight. How can they follow you to get in touch with someone that wanted to book you or whatever? How can they reach out to you to do so?
So I'm on Facebook as Kathy Miller, Eden Enterprise. I'm going to be having some big announcements coming up soon regarding parenting on purpose, a new launch that I am embarking on. I'm very excited about it. But for now, you're able to reach me either on Facebook or Instagram. On Facebook, I am Kathy Miller, Eden Enterprise. And that is EDEN enterprise, like back to the beginning, back to the basics.
All right, and that's how you're listed on IG as well, on Instagram as well.
IG, I think I'm listed as Kathy Miller,
Okay.
and it may be Kathy Miller Eden Enterprise.
Okay.
But if you go to my Facebook page and message me, and then Aaliyah, I don't mind you putting my my phone number, that contact information in the chat. And one last thing I want to leave you with, that remember that every child is a story yet untold. And we get to be a part of that.
I love that. I love that. How can they get that as well?
So that's part of my new launch.
Okay. Okay. Well, we ain't gonna give too much tonight. All right, y'all. So thank you again. We look forward to hearing from you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank y'all again for the opportunity.
All right. You're welcome. So, y'all, if you missed any of this dynamic interview, you want to share this with every friend you have, every family member that's raising children, because there are so many grandparents and aunts and uncles that are raising children right now. And it's different now. And so a lot of the things she gave us, I mean, these were some great golden nuggets, y'all. She has 40 years of working with children and families. And so that's why we got on here, because it's time to parent on purpose. Well, y'all, we'll be back same time, same week, same place next week on On Fire to Inspire. I am your host, Aaliyah the Purpose Midwife. We'll see you then, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Love you guys. Have a phenomenal, awesome week. And guess what? You can do this because you got this. It's all in you. And I'll see you then. All right. Y'all have a great week.